represents most workers in the private sector in the country, urged Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu not to go ahead with the reported plans to fire his Defence Minister Yoav Gallant, warning that it will further harm the already war-battered economy. At least 19 people are reported to have died in flooding caused by Storm Boris in Central and Eastern Europe, with many countries braced for more torrential rain. Moderna is optimistic about its mRNA cancer vaccines. It released new data from a small early trial into a broad-spectrum vaccine targeting several types of solid tumor, including lung cancer and melanoma, which showed promise. The pharma giant CEO said that its melanoma-specific vaccine could be available as soon as next year. The former US President Donald Trump has said that he will meet Prime Minister Modi next week during his upcoming visit to the US. The Republican presidential candidate made the announcement while campaigning in Michigan, adding that the Prime Minister of India is fantastic. Instagram will make teenagers' accounts private by default and show them less adult-oriented content in a sweeping overhaul of how minors use the app. Well, it felt like a science fiction film, a Lebanese resident has said on record. At almost exactly the same moment, 3:30 p.m. local time, pagers exploded all over Lebanon, leaving hideous gashes and wounds on the heads, hands, and the hips of their owners. The significance of the attack quickly became clear. The pagers were being used by members of Hezbollah, the Lebanese militant movement that has been fighting an undeclared war with Israel since October. But the Israeli military has not commented on the attack, which comes the day after it warned of a tougher stance against Hezbollah, stoking fears of a broader conflict at a time when Israel sees an opportunity to decapitate Hezbollah's capabilities. But in information coming in at the moment, the pagers used by Hezbollah members that simultaneously exploded on Tuesday came from Taiwan. The New York Times is reporting, with explosives packed in sometime before they arrived in Lebanon. The pagers had been ordered from Taiwanese manufacturer Gold Apollo. This is what the Times is reporting, citing anonymous American and other officials. Now, the reports state clearly that they were tampered with by Israel before arriving into Lebanon. Quoting some of the officials, this is what the US newspaper has said. But the pagers had been ordered from a Taiwanese manufacturer. In fact, they were tampered with by Israel before arriving into Lebanon. But US officials, meanwhile, have said on record that there is no involvement as far as the United States is concerned in this incident at all.
Again, I don't have any details to provide on the reports of the pager blast. I can tell you, to my knowledge, there's no U.S. involvement in this at all. Again, it's something that we're monitoring.
My colleague Mohammed Ghazali has been tracking the finer details for us very closely. He joins us live at the moment. Ghazali, Israel has been using digital technologies to target members of Hezbollah for months. But this attack is unlike anything seen before, right, as we've discussed, and it appears to have struck a new kind of blow.
Certainly a massive intelligence and security breach for Hezbollah. And why this is very significant, as you rightly pointed out, that Israel has certainly changed the rules of the game. They were facing rocket attack from Hezbollah on their northern border for months, not just after October 7, but the incidents have happened before October 7 as well. But after October 7, since Hezbollah came out supporting Hamas for its attack on October 7, after that, even they have joined hands with Hamas. It started launching rocket attacks on the northern side of Israel, and Israel had to sort of evacuate around thousands of residents from that particular area, move them to another location in the country. And that has been very problematic development because US was forcing Israel or a kind of pressurizing Israel not to go for a full-blown war with Hezbollah. Because Hezbollah, unlike Hamas, is a much more organized unit, and it has more than 1 lakh people who have in their units across Lebanon. Now, what is the relevance of this particular attack? You see, after the attack, after this pager attack happened, multiple videos emerged on the social media. And as usual, all those who were working with Hezbollah in Lebanon, and not just people in the military wing, not just who are involved in the attacks, but even people who are involved in civilian services. Basically, if you see people who are not also part of the military wing, but anybody who was using this pager, and as per the international media reports, around 5,000 of new pagers were recently bought. And in one of the videos of the explosion, if you hear carefully in Arabic, one of the person is asking the other one whether are you using the new one or are you using the old one. So perhaps it confirms that all the new consignment which had arrived for Hezbollah to use these pagers were tampered with. International reports are suggesting that before the consignment could reach Hezbollah, it was breached by Israel, explosive devices were planted on it, and then after extraordinary coordination, that at one moment, simultaneous explosions happened across Lebanon, across the city of Beirut, and many Hezbollah fighters or say members of that unit have been injured. Now, what this has done to Hezbollah and the entire axis of resistance, which Iran calls all its offshoots in the Middle East, is that it has exposed them. It has certainly shown to the entire axis of resistance, like Iran, Houthis, and as well as Hezbollah, that their communications have been compromised massively. Like Israel didn't even have to send their army into Lebanon for any ground invasion, but sitting back in their own territory, they could demolish. Absolutely. And almost all their bases, all their operatives who were living in the civilian areas, their identity was not known. With this pager attack, at least their identities have been exposed. Right. So Israel now has a much better access, understanding of all the Hezbollah operatives in Lebanon. And also, it has given a massive blow to Hezbollah's operatives. Like psychologically, nobody will lift any electronic device, leave alone the pager part, because the Lebanese Health Ministry also advised people to be very careful before using any electronic gadget, steer away from any electronic devices. And this is not the first time that Israel has been using its spying and surveillance technology, but it certainly was out of the book.
In fact, for Israel to embed an explosive trigger within the new batch of pagers, as certain reports suggest, they would have likely needed access to the supply chain of these devices as well, Ghazali. But thanks so much for joining us with that crucial update. We are aware that Hezbollah had ordered its fighters to get rid of smartphones that could be targeted by Israel, but the historic scale of this attack, is it being perceived as sending a message to the group that we can get you anywhere? Well, Sarah Coates has a detailed update for us.
Well, this is a developing story, certainly a major escalation, and it could signal the beginning of a larger campaign. Now, health officials on the ground in Lebanon, they have been told by emergency organisers to right now attend any close hospital to administer aid. We are hearing that more than 1,000 people have been injured, at least 3 killed, one of those including the son of a very prominent member of Lebanese parliament and also a little girl. Now, among the injured, reports say that one of those people is the Iranian ambassador to Lebanon. He's reportedly in good condition, but certainly thousands of people injured. And it really raises questions as to how these devices exploded in the first place, but there is still no comment from the Israelis on this, although members of parliament and senior officials have been told by the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu not to comment. But once again, developing story, more than 1,000 people injured. We are hearing that some 3 people have been killed, with still no claim as to who was behind this incident. Sarah Coates for NDTV, Tel Aviv.
For further clarity, we also have with us political researcher Mohammad Hassan Swaydan, PhD university instructor, joining us on the World 24/7. A massive security breach, new age warfare, many argue. But Hezbollah and the Lebanese government have been quick to blame Israel for these nearly simultaneous detonation of hundreds of pagers. But as we know, Israel rarely takes responsibility for such attacks.
Well, of course, it is a huge security breach the Israelis has achieved today, but I think this is not the main important thing we should consider, because it's normal for Israelis to do what they do. Well, everyone knows that Israel is one of the strongest entities in the world. It has very strong technological infrastructure. It has a very strong military. It has a very strong economy. So it's normal for such a strong entity to do what it did. But the unusual is for a resistance to be able to continue playing the role of a support front after almost a year of the war in Gaza. And I think this is the thing that Israelis want to tell people. But what happened today is expected. Israel didn't do something surprising for it as a strong entity, strong technological entity. It has all the power it needs to achieve such security breach. Although it's still an achievement for Israel, but let's not forget that it has achieved this with a resistance, with a small group that is considered is still considered as a resistance group that doesn't have the same level of power with Israel, and that's the main important thing. So to assess realistically what happened, we can say that yes, Israel achieved a very important achievement. The security breach was big, but a true assessment should consider the goals Israel wants to achieve from this security breach. I think that Israel wants to achieve from this security breach for the support front Hezbollah has started last October to stop. So as long as this support front is continuing to work, then Israel failed to achieve its goal, and that's the important thing, since assessment is based on goals, not on the achievement itself, and that's an important thing to consider.
Right, Hassan, but even in a country that has long been accustomed to war, the intimate nature of this attack is deeply disturbing. But Israel seems to have changed its warfare against Iran and its allies. Israel has assassinated leaders of Hamas and Hezbollah in Syria, Lebanon, and Iran. It's no surprise. But at the moment, is Israel looking for precision attacks to avoid a full-blown war?
Yes, it's obvious that Israel changed its the type of war it's having with Hezbollah, and I think this reflects some kind of decrease in power for Israel. Israel used to be the entity that can start any type of war with any type of enemy in the region, because it has the military, economic, technological superiority it needs to do so. So going towards a new type of warfare that's mainly concentrated on the security side, this shows that Israel doesn't want to open a new front, doesn't want to open a new war, and that has its reasons. Refusing to open a new war with Hezbollah in Lebanon is because Hezbollah can inflict so much damage over Israel, and that's what the Americans have been saying in the last couple of days and weeks. The Americans have been telling Israel that you can't achieve militarily with Hezbollah what you need to achieve in politics, so you don't have to go with war, because the damage inflicted on you in any war will be so big that maybe you can't bear it. And that's why Israel is trying to change its tactics with Hezbollah. It's trying to avoid a huge open warfare with Hezbollah, because it knows the costs that Hezbollah may inflict on it, and that's an important point today. So going towards a new type of warfare, mainly on the cognitive side, on the security side, is because Israel doesn't want to open a warfare militarily, open warfare with Hezbollah, because of its fear of the costs. And that's why we are witnessing a new type of warfare that Israel thinks it can bear. But till now, the consequences, strategic consequences, let's see what Americans are saying, let's see what Israelis are saying. No one is convinced today that on the strategic level, Israel is well. Everyone is speaking that Israel is paying huge costs on the strategic level, diplomatically, militarily, economically, and in every aspect of it. And that's an important thing to consider in this war.
Hassan, thanks so much for making time for us on World 24/7. The big question is also now how challenging it's going to be for the United States and Arab states to achieve a ceasefire in this situation. With that, let's turn our attention now to the United States. Well, former US President Donald Trump has said that he will meet Prime Minister Modi next week during his upcoming visit to the US. The Republican presidential candidate made the announcement while campaigning in Michigan. In fact, he added that Prime Minister Modi is fantastic. The last time they met was back in 2020 in February, when Prime Minister Modi and Donald Trump were in Delhi when the then US President, had visited India. In other news, Instagram has introduced updates designed to give parents more oversight into what their teenagers are doing online. But the changes did little to assuage critics who say the social media network is compromising adolescents' well-being. Meta, which owns Instagram, introduced a new teen accounts program that aims to limit the time minors spend on the site, what content they see, and which strangers are able to find their accounts and talk to them. The new system also expands parents' ability to monitor their children's activities, including the types of content they see and the people they are messaging. Well, to understand the ramifications, we have with us Iona Anula, PhD senior researcher and advisor on children's rights and tech policy. Iona, the measures do reflect rising concerns among parents and political leaders that social media sites are contributing to a youth mental health crisis in the United States. But how successful do you think these new measures will be in protecting teens from online harm?
Children, like us adults, always find workarounds. So yes, we see all these very, welcomed announcements, but we all have experience of kids who spend a lot of time, working around different systems and measures, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's part of their creativity. It's part of them growing up. We adults, they see us doing the same when we use a VPN connection to watch what we want and so on. So the answer to that is that kids are what we call edge users, in the sense that they are they're taking risks. They are always, more vulnerable, and we have to keep, we have a duty of care. And that duty of care is not only on the shoulders of parents, it's not only on the shoulders
Indeed.
of teachers, it's also on the shoulders of these big companies.
In fact, like you've highlighted, teens may find ways around the new standards, which they say leave some safety issues unaddressed. But what about the countries where these measures have not been implemented? How should parents go about discussing online safety with their children there?
We have seen that these new measures are being rolled out at the moment, first in the US, in the UK, in Canada, and Australia. The question is, what happens with other kids, right? And these measures are built with substantial understanding of how children in these contexts, behave. There is research, there's more advanced research in this context. We also understand, the companies understand more because they're English-speaking countries. And we definitely, people who are not originally English speakers and so on, we know the many, many more workarounds that we have in other languages. We also have less mature debate around regulation and less mature public awareness. And as we say in the human rights world, a right is not a right unless you know about it.
Indeed.
And therefore, if our citizens of the non-English speaking world, if our children don't know their rights because the debate is not mature enough, then they will never be able to exercise them.
Of course, Iona. Thanks so much for making time for us and joining us on The World 24/7. Taking a quick break for now. Back in a moment. Don't go anywhere.
I've been reporting on all issues, big and small, from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital, Mumbai.
India's IT capital is always buzz. It's literally a city that never sleeps. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
I've been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
India's IT capital is always buzz. It's literally a city that never sleeps. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
The 18th of September will be one of the most watched days for global markets. A turning point that could change the course of the financial markets and economies. The big shift is coming. It's not about if, it's about how much. Will the Fed cut rates by 25 basis points or 50 basis points? What will the impact on India be? Catch all the action live on NDTV Profit.
New day, new show, a new experience.
Start your day with the news, not views.
We bring you stories that matter
And impact your life.
news that informs and keeps you ahead. From Maximum City, Mumbai,
To the seat of power, Delhi.
NDTV brings you the best breakfast show. Breakfast news on NDTV, 8 a.m. every day.
I've been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
India's IT capital is always buzz. It's literally a city that never sleeps. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
New day, new show, a new experience.
Start your day with the news, not views.
We bring you stories that matter
And impact your life.
news that informs and keeps.
Let's get you a quick update as far as the strongest storm to strike Asia this year is concerned. Well, it's left a massive trail of destruction. Over 70 people are still missing and over 226 people have died. The death toll has risen in Myanmar. In fact, Typhoon Yagi has been the strongest storm to strike Asia this year. Thank you for investing your time and watching this edition of The World 24/7. We'll keep tracking the latest updates for you. Do stay tuned.
I've been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
India's IT capital is always buzz. It's literally a city that never sleeps. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen